Congrats on getting beyond 1 million. What got you here won't always get you there. This is a podcast for entrepreneurs who want to reach beyond their 7-figure business and scale to 8, 9, and even 10 figures. I'm Brad Weimert, and as the founder of Easy Pay Direct, I have had the privilege to work with more than 30,000 businesses, allowing me to see the data behind what some of the most successful companies on the planet are doing differently. Join me each week as I dig in with experts in sales, marketing, operations, technology, and wealth building. And you'll learn some of the specific tools, tactics, and strategies that are working today in those multi-million, 8, 9, and 10-figure businesses. Life can get exciting beyond 1 million. John Rampton, I appreciate you carving out time, man. It is always good to see you.
Hey, thanks for having me here.
Definitely. I've gotten a bunch of little snippets of your story through the years, but here are some of the bullets. And I want to dig into a couple, but I want to kind of start at the beginning. You are owner or investor in do.com, calendar.com, NatureBox, and you produce content. You write for like every major publication I can think of online, and like a crazy amount of content. So I want to dig into that, but I read a stat the other day that was that you've written more than 5,000 articles around business content, entrepreneurship, productivity, business. And when I did the math on that, it's one article a business day for 19 years, which is a tremendous amount of content. All accurate?
Yeah, I probably actually have more than that, but yes, lots of articles, lots of content.
It's bananas. So I want to talk about the why, but before we get there, let's rewind. And can you give me kind of John Rampton's origin story here? How'd you get started in business?
Yeah. So I grew up in Salt Lake City, Utah, and I always wanted to be a sales guy, right? Because I've read online and I've seen online tons of people talking about sales. That's one of the quickest ways to get rich is if you can sell. And if you can sell anything, even better, right? So I always wanted to be a sales guy. So I kind of was like, my ultimate dream in life when I was growing up is I wanted to be a pharmaceutical sales rep because I saw one pharmaceutical sales rep earning $500,000 a year, which in today's terms would be like, $1.5, $2 million like a year. He was crushing it, right? So I always wanted to do that. So I went to college at the University of Utah. And while I was going to college, I was trying to pay for this journey and pay for college. And I got run over by a skidster. That's a little scooper thing at a construction site that digs dirt. And it backed over me and snapped my leg in half. And I spent the next year basically in and out of surgeries, doing stem cell regeneration on my leg and all kinds of things. Basically, I was also told by countless doctors that I'd never be able to walk again. And during that journey, it kind of just like took this dashing of salesperson. I thought salesperson because back in the day, the only way to sell was to meet people face to face. Nowadays it's Zoom, it's this, but that wasn't the case. So at the time, there was this online marketing, and that was kind of the new thing, right? And I was selling this little widget. They were spinning virtual tours of homes. Like they took a camera and spun it all the way around, and that's how you sold real estate or showed people real estate. Well, I was selling those, and I got $8 to $10 for every single sale. And during this time, I was like, man, like I can't go meet agents. I can't do this. So I went online and there was this little site called Craigslist. And I went online and I was like, I'll pay you $6 for every time you sell one of these tours, and unlimited, sky's the limit. I was kind of creating my own MLM, right? And
so you just, hold on, so you just posted an ad for it?
Yeah, Craigslist? I just posted an ad. Yeah, I just posted an ad for sales reps. And I was like, you guys sell this and put in your code. And I give them my code and then their code to kind of track it. You guys sell and I'll give you $6 per sale. And at the time, my average sales every single day was like 8 to 10 of these. Sometimes I was up to like 12 to 15. Over the course of the next year, my sales numbers went to like 50, 100, 200, 300, 500. And I'd have 500 sales in one day. And the next highest sales rep in our company was like 6 or 7, like maybe 10 on a really good day. And then I was doing 500. And this company was like, they couldn't figure out. And they'd bring me in and they'd be like, we're halting all sales. And I'm like, okay. And I just paused the machine. And then all the sales would go away. And they're like, oh, well, we need this. We can't live without it. So then they'd be like, all right, we're going to pay you. And they were trying to figure out what I was doing. But I realized then the power of online and how, even though I was just having other people do the work, kind of a TaskRabbit or Upwork or something like that, I was figuring out how to have other people make me money. And other people sell a product and sell, kind of like affiliate marketing today, or kind of like blog posts, or kind of like this. That's where I got my real start in the online world, was just simply I was trying to make money and finding better ways to make money. So that led to, different businesses and starting different things and to where I am today.
What era was that? Circa 2000?
That was in 2005 to 2008. I did that.
I mean, that was the beginning, clearly, of an adventure in marketing. And I mean, 80 to 100x normal production in a sales company is pretty wild. But I would think that also had to be this entry point into entrepreneurship. Why would you? Yeah. I mean, did it occur to you at that time, like, hey, not working for a company anymore, this is a terrible idea? Or did it take you down the path of just let me double down on what I've figured out and do the affiliate marketing thing, which a lot of people do?
Yeah, it took me down the double down and start doing affiliate marketing, but I started doing it for myself. So I actually went to my boss at that company and I was like, hey, I love what you're doing, but we're basically leaving out a whole subset of the market where we were only working for agents, and I wanted to work with homeowners. So I actually essentially took a clone of their software and started doing it for myself. And 9 months later, I sold that company to Coldwell Banker. So we replicated the exact same success of that and started doing it on the homeowner front, just started helping people sell their own homes. We were one of the first companies to tag in and start working with Zillow. This is way back when they were starting. We were like a premier partner of theirs. We did that and started doing that. I ended up selling that company to Coldwell Banker. And this is, years and years ago. But that kind of started my oh my word, if I can do this for, my boss or for my own, I could start doing this very, very well. So then I started replicating that. And it's a very repeatable process, the marketing process. Once you figure out and become the best at something, I learned, you start becoming the best at something and it will transfer over to different things. So that's when I kind of got into more the content realm and started mass producing content. Was I wanted all these PR people to write about my business, and, Wall Street Journal or Entrepreneur or TechCrunch or wherever you want to get your local news station, they'll only write about your company, once a year, right? Maybe a couple times a year if you're one of the top companies out there. But I was like, if I can write about my own company or help people out and then subliminally bring in my own company, I can repeat this all the time. And I can just, I started pulling out my phone and dictating an article and putting it down and sending it to a person who could write the article. This just repeating the process in a little bit different of a way. So I dictate an article. It takes me 1 to 2 minutes. I send it to somebody. They make an amazing article. All of a sudden, I've expanded my reach. And that article all of a sudden only takes me 2 minutes or a minute. Or if I do 5 minutes, they have, 5 articles that they can crush out. That's a whole week's worth of work. It's expandable. And all of a sudden the businesses that I was working at the time start having lots of content, lots of links, and start being found online a lot easier.
Yeah. So that's one of those, I think for most of the entrepreneurs out there, easier said than done situation. So this dream of let me dictate a 2-minute article and then magically it gets produced and it's everywhere in the right format, and gets me SEO juice. Everybody wants it, but very, very few people effectively create a system to be able to execute that. And I want to dive into kind of how AI has transformed that, but I don't want to miss the lessons in the machine that you built, because we've talked in detail at one point just about the engine that you built to produce content. And it's no joke, specifically in the spaces that you're in, because you write a lot in the financial space and you need some level of expertise to do that. How did you go about, like, how did it begin? And then what was the machine? How did you build the machine? Because it got pretty big.
Yeah. So the beginning days, it was me. It was me building the machine myself. It was me writing the articles, me going, and I had to get some value out of those. So now, first of all, writing for all these different publications, that was kind of my first step. My first step was I reached out to a small blog and I said, hey, I want to write for you. And they're like, okay, sure. Free content. Sure. I always gave away everything. Every piece of content I do is free. I don't charge for it. So they're like, free content. And in exchange, I kind of wanted to link back to myself, or at least mention my site. So I started off small at a blog. And then I did that for a little bit. I gained a little bit of a following. And then I moved to the next level up, a blog just a little bit better than them. And then wrote for them. And I kept writing for this one and then wrote for the new one. Then I go to a new one and then a new one. And slowly over time, I worked my way up to a point where I could go to a publication. And over the course of about a year, I gained an email subscriber list of about, I think at the time it was like 1,200, 1,300 people who were kind of my super fans, who would, read everything that I wrote and kind of consume what I did. Well, then I went to a major publication. At the time, it was the Huffington Post. And I said, hey, I have a pretty decent following. I have a pretty decent social following, and I want to give you guys free content. So they were like, sure, like, we'll test you out. And I started writing for them, and they started noticing my post got a few more page views than their average post. And that number just kept going up and up and up and up. Well, then I went from Huffington Post to Entrepreneur and kind of just started working my way up. Now, along the way, I had to ditch some of the old ones that didn't drive me as much value or give me as much value to my bottom line. I had to get something out of it. You can't just blog for blog's sake. I was trying to drive customers back to whatever product or service I was trying to sell at the moment. So at that time, it was, say the spinning home tour. Or after that, we owned a company called Organizing Ventures. We owned Organize.com. After that, it was a payments company. After that, it was other things, right? Along the way, I was able to, kind of switch different industries based on the publication. So it got to a point where I could not write the content myself. So I would dictate it and I would send it to somebody on a little company called Odesk. Now they're now Upwork is the company, but I probably sent it to like 10 different people, and I hired 10 different people to do the exact same task. And I found one out of those 10, actually probably 2 out of those 10 that were good, and one that was really, really good at writing content. And I dictated, I said, here's what I want. I want a title. I want, an intro. I want, a very engaging something. I want subheadings written, and then I want 2 or 3 links to whatever publication I'm writing for, and kind of gave them an outline of exactly what I wanted for. Well, I found somebody that really, really worked very, very well. And that person still to this day works with me. And he is my top writer, and I give him stuff and he just knows what to do. And he's one of the most amazing people. And I've had to do that. I find that I'll put out about 10 job requests and get one pretty decent one. Usually now it's probably about 20 to 1, but I'll put the same job out to 20 different people and find one person that does a very, very good job at producing the type of quality and content that I need to put out to my readers. So matches my tone and stuff like that. That has allowed me to scale that type of business.
Okay, I wanna dig into that because I know that you've had writers from a variety of places. I remember Odesk. I called Upwork Odesk for several years.
Yep,
um,
same.
the specifics matter here, and so you're writing for all these different publications, blog posts, bigger blog posts, HuffPost, Entrepreneur, and now it's Inc. and Forbes and Medium, et cetera, et cetera. And you are a major contributor on these platforms. Like a huge percent of the content that gets produced ends up coming from you.
Yes.
And you mentioned linking back or, functionally it sounds like CTAs in your articles to drive back to the product you're trying to sell. What's the balance there? Because you can't just be doing advertorials. I mean, not overtly, right? So how do you think about that? What's the sort of ratio between just content or content plus pitch or just pitch, or how does that work?
So the biggest thing is you have to drive immense value. If you're driving no value, people don't care. You're not creating a super fan. So my goal is to create as many super fans as I can. A super fan you don't even have to have a link. They will find you. They will find what you're selling and they will come and purchase it. So if every article I can get, say 5 to 10,000 people to read that article, I know that every 1,000 page views I drive, I'm going to get one super fan. And that one super fan will drive it back to me. So the more engaging, the more help, the more shares, the more everything I get out of that article, the more super fans that I will get. So it basically boils down to a numbers game of how much content I can produce that drives immense value, that drives people back to me. So yes, I'd put links in there and there's a healthy ratio. I'd typically put like one link in every single article back to myself because that's how Google works. Google works on a link-based algorithm that it's based on a thing, how high it is in the post, what keyword it is that helps different posts rank. There's SEO people that do this and that's all they do, right? I just knew that a link helps my site and the more links that I can get, the more it's going to help my site. Now, over time, I've learned a lot more about that, like how, where, what quality, term, length of the article, etc. But at the time, I just knew that it was a numbers game. It's more about value and immense value creation than it is about links or anything like that.
I love that. And so the links that you have aren't necessarily going to sell a product, but they're just going
Correct.
to some other asset that you own, right? It's just
Correct.
juicing you from an SEO perspective. And then maybe the content itself mentions the product and the super fan goes and finds it themselves.
Correct. So, all ships will raise together. So if you're driving a link to a site or if you're talking about a site, that site will be elevated in some way. It might not be the specific product that you're mentioning, but the whole site will be elevated and that will raise the entire ship. So I kind of had that theory and it's proved very valuable over time because I think people who just focus on one area of their website, like the homepage or only the product page, and they don't focus around a holistic version, I think it looks very scammy. And Google's come out and been like, hey, we don't like this. Like, look at it from an expert perspective. Experts don't just link to the same resource every single time. So it's proved valuable over time.
Okay, so you've had these, sizable companies. You mentioned one I didn't know about, which was Organize, .net. Do.com is big. Calendar.com is what you're focused on now, which is big. NatureBox, huge company. What percentage of the marketing is attributed to this specific, just create a ton of content to have all boats rise, so to speak, versus paid ads, direct response, et cetera?
Yeah. Great question, by the way. So when it comes to marketing, you need to look at, in the beginning, where you are in business. So when you're launching a business or startup and you want to scale from like zero to whatever it is, $0 to $1,000 a month, 0 to 10,000, 0 to 100,000, 0 to $1 million. Usually I find with businesses, you can get 0 to $1 million or 0 to like 5 million with one vertical, meaning just like content or just like paid or just like one specific vertical. And when you're starting a business, I usually say, what is your superpower? And whatever your superpower is, leverage that as much as humanly possible, because that will take your business to that point. But there will come a point when you're pushing as hard as you can and it's not moving the needle. And that's a point where you need to start introducing things that aren't necessarily your superpower, but superpower adjacent. So you know enough about it. So I'm very, very good at content and SEO. And that for most of my businesses has driven our business up to about $1 million in revenue. And this is annualized revenue, not monthly revenue. After that, you need to start, and it's different for every single category, but that's what I've found in my life is about $1 million. And then I need to start introducing other categories. I need to start introducing in some social ads, for example, like Facebook ads, Instagram ads, TikTok ads, Pinterest ads, whatever it is. Those are kind of the immediate start. Google ads, Microsoft ads, going more after search, introducing those. Those are what I call multipliers. So when you do those take your businesses or your business from 1 million to the 10 million to 50 million range, because they're not just adding, they're multiplying. And then it multiplies your search efforts as well, or your content efforts. All of a sudden that your content will go from like 1 million to like 5 million, and 5 million of it will be of the 50 million. But you could only get to 1 million with just content, but adding the social component or Facebook ads, all of a sudden we'll get that to 5 million and the other to 5 million. And I feel every single one that you add multiplies a little bit more on the efforts of the other. And then you start coming across all these different categories. And then all of a sudden you have a real large multi-million or multi-$10 million I But they don't work just in silos. They multiply silos.
I love that. I see a lot of people through the walls of Easy Pay Direct that are heavily ad driven. And so they figure out sort of an ad funnel where you put $1 in and you get $2 back, or you put $1 in and you get $1 and a penny back. And then they just drive like hell.
Yes.
And it ramps. But then they stop the ads, or the ads stop working is a better way to say that. And it's done. I love the lens of, let me ask you this. I love the lens of it being a multiplier for the right thing. And ads, I could totally see that being the case. Do you think that if your superpower is ads, it makes sense for that to be the first one? Or do you think that there's a best approach?
For sure. I would always, whatever your superpower is, use that in the very, very beginning. I actually really love ads. And I think a lot of people downplay ads and wait till they have their product perfect to do ads. I've started actually using my superpower with ads a lot sooner than when I started. So first time entrepreneur, I used just my superpower. Second time entrepreneur, used just my superpower, right? Third, fourth, fifth time superpower, like entrepreneur, I used ads to immediately start proving the model and prove that I could get customers. So my superpower is search, right? Organic search, content. It takes a little bit to get customers. I know I can get a couple pretty quick, but ads are immediate proof whether a person will pay for your product or not. So I would introduce ads in as quickly as possible and then start mixing in your superpower while you're doing that.
I love that. Okay, so back to, a squad of writers. It started with post an ad, post a job on Craigslist, then Upwork, and then get more of them. How many, and this might be different today, but let's say at the peak of having writers write, how many are writing for you? And are they in-house? Are they all Upwork? Do you have different mechanisms for this?
Yeah. So I produce a lot of content. So right now I probably have 3 to 5 full-time writers that write for me on a daily basis. In producing content, they're producing 1 to 2 pieces of good content 1 to 4 pieces of good content every single day. sometimes going under mine, sometimes going under other different team members on our team. Next, we always have, so there's other people, not just a writer, that you need to hire if you're going to expand and grow this specific business. I also have a fact-checking editor, a voice editor, and a proofreading editor. Those are all contract people that go through every single post and make sure it's in the voice of the person that they're putting it out. The next is a fact-checking editor. This is a person that goes through every single fact and makes sure that I am not full of shit or making something up or doing something stupid, right? And then the other editor is a proofreading editor, just a regular editor that goes through, makes sure the voice, the grammar, and everything is correct. I have found that these are 3 different editors and they're 3 different mindsets in an editor. A fact-checking editor, aka similar to a stalker online. They are very, very good at finding facts, finding statistics, finding things that, all these different truths online. These people, if you give them a task, they'll find you the best restaurant in any city and know the 3 best chefs of everything. They're that type of a person, aka the online researcher, or some people would refer to them as a stalker online. The other person is a regular editor. They're just very, very good at grammar. Typically, I find grammar people are not that good at finding statistics and finding quick things online. The other person is a voice. They know your voice back and forth. They know everything about you. They know your life story. They can kind of insert different personal touches into posts to make it relate to people a little bit better. So we have 3 people go through every single post.
That's awesome. Where did you find those people? Finding these people is I think the biggest challenge for entrepreneurs. I know personally, when I talk to people about what the job of a CEO is, a disproportionate amount of the time, hiring fits into that bucket, and a disproportionate amount of the time, people talk about how they hate hiring and how they suck at hiring as a CEO. So how do you find them?
This is very similar to hiring. You're going to have to go through a couple bad apples to find a good actor. So it's the same type of ratio. You're hiring 10 people to find one good one. And eventually you'll find that person and don't let go of them ever. So we find a lot of ours through journalism schools. We post job ads at journalism schools. We also have an office in Columbia, Missouri, which is close to Mizzou. And we get usually about 30 master's degree level interns every single semester that come work for us. We give them jobs and we find some of the best talent out there and we'll assign these tasks out to them and people will excel in one of the areas usually. So, but it's just trial and error finding them. We have found a couple on Upwork as well. Just posting. That's more like finding the right editor is more like a 50-to-1. We'll hire 50 different jobs out and we'll find one. So it's a little tedious to find that person, but eventually you find that person and it's amazing.
All right. We can't glaze over that. You have 30 master's level interns from Mizzou.
Correct.
How?
Yep.
How did you line that up?
We built just a relationship. Well, we just built a very good relationship with the school in 1, offering people jobs, 2, paying them, and 3, setting them up in an environment where they're producing and working on the type of content and projects that they want to work on. And then we're developing their skills. And after that, since I know a bunch of the publications and our team knows a bunch of the publications and we work with a lot of people, we're able to help get those people placed or jobs or introductions, warm introductions to the places that they want to work or be with. So that took a lot of time. That wasn't easy. That was connecting with the right people. And, that was a 10-year relationship where we hired a person and they left the company and then they worked their way up and, 5 years down the road, they had a job at this and, that was purely luck. But I think, I haven't shared this. I find that we love helping people. In our business, in life, I love helping people. So I find that 1 in every 10 people that I help will help me back. So I help 10 people without wanting anything in return. One of them will help me back. I find that 1 in every 100 people that I help, so I help 100 people, one of those people will turn into a financial relationship where there is money exchanged in some way, shape, or form. I also find that 1 in every 1,000 people that I help will turn into a multi-million-dollar relationship. So, and that's money cross either to them or from them. So that means I need to help 3 people every single day without wanting anything or expecting anything in return. And that will return back to me kind of a multi-million-dollar relationship over time. Now, it won't be that year, but it's over the course of our relationship. It's a multi-million-dollar relationship. So I need to help 3 people every single day, and I will find that person. This was one of those people where it's a multi-million-dollar relationship. It just might have taken 10 years to come about.
And this person was, can you tell me about this person? I mean,
they're just head of.
This was a person that you hired,
they're now retired, but
that ended up working for another place. I didn't totally track the profile there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this was a person that we had done. They had reached out for something, and they'd actually hired us to do some like content work or something at a company that he randomly worked with. And then he was leaving that job, and he's like, "Hey, can I get an intro to one of these 3 people?" And we introduced him to 3 different people. And then he ended up having like 3 job offers. He took one of them, went and worked from the company. I never heard from him for like 5 or 6 years. And all of a sudden he popped up. I think it was like, it might have been even like 8 years later. And 8 years later, he's like, "Oh, by the way, like I'm doing this with the journalism school at this." We actually have 2 of these. One of them was just through a random connection, and that one was at the Carnegie Mellon Institute of Writing. And we had just randomly connected and helped the person's spouse out. And we connected that person's spouse with somebody and just really helped. This one at Mizzou, we'd connected them. They'd gotten a job. They ended up coming back, finding a job that we didn't connect them with or anything. They reached out and were like, "Hey, you guys were awesome for me. Could you start helping other people do this?" Great. Yeah, we would love to. But again, it all comes back to that giving principle. The more I give, the more I get. There's this talk by Arthur Brooks called Why Giving Matters. I highly recommend every person go listen to it. It's about 15 minutes long. And he goes into the science of giving and how people who give get more in life. And he's a Harvard professor, and he talks about this, but he breaks it down into mathematics. And he's like, the average person who gives X% of whatever they make, on average, will make 1.2% more every single year than their entire giving, plus than a person that does not give. And he has it back down to mathematics. I kind of give that in life. The more you give, the more you're going to get back. 1, from personal and spiritual level, but 2, from a business level. And again, this is giving without wanting anything in return. So I didn't think this talk would turn into giving, did you? Ha ha ha. But it comes back.
Yeah, 100%. Well, and I think that that's a more fun way to live, more enjoyable way to live. And B, my belief is that one of my underlying beliefs that I speak about frequently is that I think relationships are the foundation of everything else. And you cannot live in an ecosystem where you value relationships and have a problem with giving. That's not how it works. Or you can try it, but you're going to have some weird relationships.
Very true. By the way, I just pulled it up. If you give to any charitable foundation, they have found that on average, within 12 months, you're making $375 more every single month than you were the year before. That adds up. You think of that compounding over 30 years. You're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Where's the math on that? Where are you pulling that from?
He has it in his talk.
Right.
They analyzed and followed 30,000 families, Harvard did, over the course of 40 years.
Crazy.
And they have data on every single one, their salaries, their taxes, all that. They pulled all that. But they found if you give to a charitable foundation, on average, the next year, you're earning $375 more per month than a person who did not give.
All right, we'll link to it. So I want to know, speaking of sort of creating the right environment and frame to set people up to give to the interns, I want to know what that looked like, because the details matter so much when you're trying to execute something. Entrepreneurs hear, oh, let me get interns in. I know when I started, my first thought was free labor, and started in business, 15, 20 years ago, whatever. And now I think, how do I provide the most value in that equation for that person where it also works for the company? And you started by saying, you said a number of things, but the first was paid internship, right? They're making money. And the second was creating an environment that was of value to them. What does that look like? How do you think about training the interns? What resources do they get? Do they have a trajectory? Is there an exit point? Is it time bound? What are the basics?
Yeah. So luckily I have a team that manages all of this, because I am horrible at managing teams and interns, right? But I have an amazing person on my team that basically went through, and my business partner, his name is John Hall. He is the most process-oriented person in the world. If you do something more than 2 or 3 times, he sets a process document on here's everything you should do from A to Z, processing this out, making a video, templating it. So that was the first thing when having interns, is you need to have a process document or a process video, aka documents that say, here is A to Z, everything that we need and every process that you need to do. I'm horrible at this. I am a squirrel. I can't focus for more than 2 minutes, right? He is extremely process oriented. So you need to have this person on your team to build out processes. So when an intern comes in, they are set up for success. And you're not going to have success with every single intern. It's very similar to the regular business world. Sometimes you're going to have issues. Sometimes you're going to have problems. We've had far more problems with interns than we've ever had with employees, or ever had with regular hires that we bring onto the company. So, but we have processes for that as well. If there's issues or if there's problems, the team knows to react or do certain things or write them up in certain ways, or do this, or sit them down and walk them through what did not go right. What could they be doing better to help elevate them and our company to the best way possible? So, again, it's more about processes than it is about number of interns or this. I think you'll set yourself up for failure if you just hire an intern and you bring him in and you're like, hey, go write us some content, go do this. No, we have it day one. They come in, they get a laptop. We have a welcome lunch. They meet with 3 people on the team that can be their mentors. Those 3 people have check-in with them on average, like every other, they're kind of assigned every single day, all 3 people for the first 3 weeks of their internship. And then after that, it moves to a weekly basis. We have templated this all out from process from A to Z on how to set that person up for success. Because if you're just hiring an intern or hiring somebody, throwing them into the job and having no description or no accountability for your side as well as their side, it's setting them up for just a bad path or a bad path. So again, processes in there. So our processes, again, you start meeting with the team, we have a welcome lunch, we have all these things, and then they start getting assignments. We don't just berate them with 50 assignments. We put 1 or 2 assignments on them and then coach them through. Hey, here's what you did really, really well. Here's where there's room for improvement. Here's where you really sucked. And we're honest with them. You were terrible at this. A lot of people sugarcoat it. It's don't sugarcoat it. Let them know, hey, this wasn't at all what we were going for. We probably didn't understand. We probably didn't describe it that great. We should be better. Can you tell us what we did wrong to explain it wrong? And let's start fixing that process. That goes into the process doc. We start fixing things, and we've iterated that over the past 3 or 4 years.
And one of the things that you said when you were talking about the similar process in the beginning through Upwork was hire 10 people, give them all the same assignment, and you're going to get one or two good ones out of that. Do you follow that same methodology with the interns?
Yes. Interns is a little different. Usually we've kind of vetted it a little bit more. I would say the interns that we bring on are probably like second round of edits or third round of edits. We also know that they're not just general people. These are typically like master's degree level people who have gone on beyond just like starting out. They actually want to be part of this path, not just trying to make money. So you'll find on Upwork, it's, I can write and I'm out of a job, so I'll write for your company. I'm just trying to make money. Versus you'll find people in the journalism school are, hey, I have this type of integrity. I want to go on this. And this is the career path that I've essentially chosen that I want to be in. So there's just a little bit level of transparency that they've provided that kind of gets you past that first like 10. I would say they're more like, if you're hiring 20 people on Upwork, they're probably your top 4 of 20. So you have just a lot better odds. It's kind of, a person, if you're hiring for a marketing person, they've designated that they're a marketing expert and have like 3 jobs behind them in marketing. You can kind of see the history behind them.
Makes sense. So you're looking at maybe the same assignment for 2 or 3 people as opposed to 10 and seeing who produces the most or the best?
Usually we're just making one.
Oh, got it.
Since they're part of our process and they're working with a person on our team, we can coach them to make it how we need it to be. So I think they're more to that one. And then along the path, it might be screwing up a couple times, but it's more training than it is like unfiltered expectations.
Awesome. Okay. Couple quick questions because I know you're tight on time here. First one, what are the biggest mistakes you can make when producing content for the sake of SEO?
Biggest mistakes is not knowing your audience. I think some people just throw up content to throw up content, and they're putting out content for content's sake. It's not going to work. It's going to fail, and you're setting yourself up for failure. And what you're really doing is saying that this category doesn't work when really you've just done a crappy job at the category, and the category could be your best producing revenue stream, and you just, wrote it off. Second mistake is not being clear on what you want. So in the beginning, working in those Upwork days, I would throw out and just be like, hey, go write this, do this. Now I have more a process, and that process document, again, that my partners put together, but a process document for doing what we need. And we're setting out clear expectations from the very beginning with clear, achievable outcomes. So if you don't have a clear, achievable outcome and what you expect out of it, don't expect that result. So usually if I'm working with a client or something, I'm like, hey, looking out 6 months, where do you want to be? I have that detailed where I want to be in 6 months. Let's work our way backwards to get there. Next is just not like going half-assed into things. I kind of full-ass into things, pardon the French, but, I go into it. I go hard into it, and I really, really try hard.
I love that. Too many jokes.
Yeah.
AI.
Yes.
So you
can make me go for it.
Well, first of all, I don't know. I was trying to figure out the expression half-assed, and then full-ass seemed funny. And then you said go hard into it. And I was like, I don't know what to do with this. I don't know where I'm going. But I think
I might have said that on purpose just to elicit a response from you. So I know what I want 6 months from now. I know what I want in this conversation.
Love it. So I'm going to avoid that one. But I do want to know, you built this empire on creating content. And in the last, it's been a long time coming, but, we're May of 2023, the birth of AI is happening, and it has significantly improved in the last 6 months. It's been around for a while, but significantly improved in the last 6 months. How are things like ChatGPT and other AI tools impacting your content strategy?
Yeah, I think if you were writing content without AI, I think you're going to get past very, very quickly. There's 2 ways you can go about this. And yeah, those who have listened this far, you're going to get some really good tidbits here. If you're using AI, I think it will improve your game and take you from a 7 to a 10. And we've been using AI for a long time, putting it in tools like Surfer SEO, which basically takes your content and supercharges it and gives you all the different things and says you should do this. Sometimes we'll pop things into ChatGPT, have them write them, and then pop them into 2 or 3 other tools, optimize them, add our own perspectives, add in links, add other things. I think if you're doing that, you're going to get ahead. I think if you're just popping it into ChatGPT and posting it on your website, I think you're going to get ahead for the next 6 to 12 months. But I think after that, you're going to be severely penalized by Google and it's going to hurt you. Now, here's the big, huge business thing. ChatGPT and AI, if you're building a content empire or a content business, sometimes there's good money to be made in the sinking of a ship. So you could go and become the lowest cost provider and go provide people a ton of content. Now, I don't think you're providing them value, but if you pop it into a couple different AIs and you talk and you do what I said earlier, which is pushing it into real humans who are writing experiences, writing things into there, and you're building that up, I think that will be valuable for in the long run. That being said, AI, it's regurgitating what other people have said. It's not coming up with new ideas. It's not coming up with new this or new that, or being able to, pull 10,000 people and come up with a new statistic that is life-changing and could help. It's also pulling data typically from anywhere from 3 to 10 years ago. So a lot of it's not necessarily today's news. It can give you a leg up if you're using it correctly, but it will give you a leg down, I think, in the next 12 months if you're just using it and not doing anything else.
Have you noticed any penalization so far from using AI tools? No. Nothing so far?
Nothing. Nope. Nothing. Just positive. And we're using that to our benefit. That's why I think the next 6 to 12 months is going to be a cluster. And you're going to be able to push that and push it to the limits. But I think it's going to be short-lived. And those who are planning and building businesses around just that, I think it's going to severely hurt you in 6 to 12 months. When Google comes out and does an algorithm against AI for not doing this, for example, here's one for you. ChatGPT does not use exclamation marks. Do real humans use exclamation marks when they're talking emotion? Yes, you use 3 of them. You use 1 of them. You use 10 of them. ChatGPT does not, right? Now, it might in certain circumstances, but when it's emphasizing things, it does not. That is a very easy way to figure out Google, to figure it out. People are copying and pasting, and sometimes even copying and pasting the freaking code in there, like idiots. Run it through a couple things. But those human emotions, those actual relevant things, I think Google's going to do. Also, ChatGPT is not Baird or Beard or whatever Google calls theirs. Google owns search. 92% of all search results are based on Google, right? Do you think Google likes people using its competitors? It might force people to use its own. Do you not think they're not smart enough to figure out that that's written by AI? They freaking know, right? They just haven't built a core update for SEO that has penalized things. So I'd just be wary of it. I would use a lot more human, but those who figure out how to use AI and use a couple different AI tools and introduce the human element and statistics and do things like that, I think they're going to build massive, $5, $10, $100 million businesses overnight if they can use it. I know a lot of them that are doing it. It's great. So do it.
I love that, man. Well, I know you've got a hard stop here. I think that's great. I could ask you 1,000 other questions about this, but appreciate you carving out time. People will search the web and find John Rampton, but where would you directly like to point them?
Yeah, I'm just search John Rampton. I have johnrampton.com. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I write for Entrepreneur Magazine on a very, very, very regular basis. we have a couple of our different things. We own relevance.com, which is a content site. If you have questions, reach out through there. We own calendar.com. It's a productivity calendar, helping you easily schedule meetings. We own do.com, which is a financial site, helping people retire a little bit quicker. So we own a bunch of different sites. I'm very available online. It's very easy to find me. If not, just connect with Brad and he'll connect us directly.
I love it. John Rampton, thanks so much for carving out time, man. It's always good to see you.
Hey, great seeing you too.
Love it. I hope you enjoyed the episode as much as I enjoyed doing it. I need your help. There are 3 places you can find Beyond a Million. The podcast itself, beyondamillion.com, which has some cool free resources, including a free course. And we finally launched the Beyond a Million YouTube channel. I would love it if you would go there and subscribe. And if you don't want to, you still would probably enjoy seeing the visual content. Check it out, youtube.com/@Beyond a Million.